Hello, my name is Michael Zhu, and today I'm going to talk to you about information management during the CAPEX phase of construction. Now, in the architectural, engineering, construction, and operations industry, the meaning of capital expenditure, shortened as CAPEX, is the one-off expenditure that results in the acquisition, construction, or enhancement of significant fixed assets, including land, buildings, and equipment that will be of use or benefit for more than one financial year, as defined by the Designing Buildings wiki. So put simply, this is the capital delivery phase of a project during which the asset is built. This process typically starts at the strategy stage and ends at handover and closeout. The significance of adequately producing, managing, and maintaining the information in the CAPEX phase is that this information will eventually be handed over to the organization or entity that will be operating and maintaining the asset. And traditionally, there has always been a huge divide between the CapEx and OpEx phase of an infrastructure asset's lifecycle, where the needs of the end users are not taken into consideration while the asset is being built. This creates a period of confusion and disarray at handover, where the information that was needed for operations and maintenance is not stored in an organized or easily obtainable way, or in some cases, not recorded at all. This way of doing things simply does not adhere to the standards of BIM. If anything, it is bad information management. In the UK, the PAS 1192 Part 2 specification was developed to set out the framework for collaborative working on BIM-enabled projects and provides detailed guidance for the information requirements associated with information-conscious project delivery. It is important to note here that the requirements defined in this specification are built on the existing code of practice defined by the BS 1192-2007 standard for the collaborative production of architectural, engineering, and construction information, which describes the shared use of individually authored models in a common data environment, otherwise known as a CDE. This essentially acts as a single source of information for any given project, used to collect, manage, disseminate all relevant approved project documents for multidisciplinary teams. It is important to also note that given the drive for BIM Level 2 at an international level, the ISO 19650 standard, titled Organization of Information about Construction Works, Information Management Using Building Information Modeling, is currently under development at the time of the making of this video. Here you can see the PAS 92 Part 2 information delivery lifecycle, taken straight out of the standard itself. During the project delivery stage of the asset's lifecycle, you can see the accumulation of graphical, non-graphical, and document data. Using the language of the standard, this package of information would be called the Project Information Model, or PIM. At handover and closeout, where the wealth of information is richest, this package of information known as the PIM is handed over to the owner-operator of the asset, at which point it becomes the Asset Information Model. The AIM is essentially all the necessary information required by the owner-operator to maintain the functional output of the asset. To manage the process of the capital expenditure phase of an asset, key documentation and protocols are required throughout the project lifecycle. At the outset of the CapEx phase, the strategy needed to define the client customer's assets requirements are defined by the employer's information requirements documents, or EIR. The EIR sets out the information the client would need to run the newly built facility as well as make critical decisions throughout the project delivery. Once these requirements are established, procurement can occur in the form of the BIM execution plan. The BEP breaks down the requirements into key project deliverables and is structured in a way that avoids unnecessary micro details and focuses on what is important. After the contract has been awarded, the Master Information Delivery Plan, or MIDP, is developed. This specifies the information that needs to be prepared, who needs to prepare it, and the various protocols and procedures the information has to adhere to during production and at release. It is essential that this is in place prior to the start of the design process. With the MIDP in place, the project team can mobilize and commence the project delivery process, where they begin building and populating the information model in accordance with the client's requirements. At this point, it is appropriate to introduce an interesting concept that is emerging in the industry called the project bank. Traditionally, the way financing was managed within the AECO industry was that the main contractor would be paid in a lump sum amount prior to commencing the work. Without going into too much detail, the handling time of the money delays the payment down through the supply chain to up to 120 days in some cases. And given that our industry is primarily made up of small to medium enterprises who cannot afford to bear the load of unbudgeted expenses for too long, one can imagine the financial woes that take place on a project. With regards to the project bank account, the idea is that there will be a project-specific account from which the supply chain can get paid upon completion of the work at hand, thus bypassing the time higher tier contractors take to process their payments. In the UK, the Welsh Government has mandated the use of PBAs on all building projects procured by government bodies at a value that is over £2 million. Coming back to the graph, the entire cycle should be supported by constant information exchange between the project team and the employer's key decision points. Put simply, a constant conversation between client and contractor. Assuming that everything goes according to plan and in line with the framework, at this point, the client and end user should be in possession of a data-rich information model which will allow them to assess the performance of the asset over time and be better informed when the time comes to renew or upgrade their asset and commence the delivery phase of the process again. At the point of handover, the asset lifecycle enters the operational expenditure phase, where the process of asset management begins. This is governed by the PAS 1192 Part 3 document, which we will talk about in the next video in the series. In the UK, PAS Part 2 is a key document in managing the delivery phase of BIM Level 2 projects. More information can be found on the BSI website, where you can also download the document for free. Thank you for listening to the presentation.